Hi, everybody. Very excited to be here. I apologize, I can't speak Mandarin, so this will be in English, and hopefully the translation that you guys are hearing is going to be good enough. I'm here to talk about the changes in the ecosystem of measurement. I assume all of you are using measurement products if you are running a B2C business or B2B business, and must have encountered products like Singular and other MMPs. And I feel like this ecosystem has gone through a lot of changes recently and wanted to talk about some of those changes and how AI plays into all of that. So to start with that, I want to introduce Singular. Singular is a mobile measurement partner. It's also a measurement partner across every platform. And beyond measurement, we also deal with data. We aggregate data, normalize, we analyze it, we move data around. And so we are the core data company, and we help brands with their growth initiatives and their data challenges. We are very fortunate to work with a lot of phenomenal companies. Some of them are in this room, and we have a global business. And I was just mentioning to some of my colleagues earlier that our investment in China and the operation in China has been growing incredibly fast. China is becoming easily our second largest market in the company, which is not trivial because Europe and US is massive, but China is growing really quickly. The APAC region is going really quickly, and we're very excited about our investment in this region. So let's get into talking a bit about the space. First, I want to say thank you to Moloco. They are a great partner. We are working with them on a lot of mutual advertisers. They have phenomenal results. They're very advanced. I'm always impressed by what they were able to do. And I know many other companies in this space, networks alike, and the results, the performance, and really the sophistication behind it is unprecedented. So personally, I'm really impressed. Also, as a technical person, I'm really impressed by what they've been able to do. Okay, so it's hard to talk about measurement without talking about this moment that happened a few years ago. And I'm going to use this Thanos analogy for all of you that have seen the Marvel movies with the Avengers. There's this moment where he's just snapping his fingers and 50% of the population disappears. Or in the case of mobile marketing, 90% of the data or 95% of the data disappeared. There was this very sort of big earthquake when Apple has done their changes in terms of privacy. And back then, there was a lot of sort of doom and gloom by a lot of people talking about the end of performance marketing and the end of measurement, and measurement is going to look tremendously different. But we are now 4 years after that moment, and so much has changed in the industry. We are getting to a point where things are stabilizing, and I think that just like some companies were really quick to understand the changes in privacy, and some companies took their time to fully comprehend what's going on. I think that very similarly, in this case, people don't necessarily understand how much things have changed in the last few years in the world of privacy. And now we're in this realm where you have so much data that you can get, more data than ever, and it's sort of a different challenge. And this is a silly image of kind of Pokemon and gotta catch them all, right? But there's all these signals, there's all this data available, a lot of different data sources. Honestly, some of the data we get today as an MMP and our advertisers, I would not imagine we would be able to get 4 years ago. So the world has definitely changed a lot, and companies have to figure out how to use all this data. So just to give you guys some examples, there's all this open internet data, right? On iOS, we have a lot of different types of data, SKA network and IDFA when it's available, and IDFV where it's always available, and first-party data like your email or address or name. On Android, we have information like GAID, and we have referrals, and we have the first-party data. And then obviously you can use things like user agent and IP address, and there's like a million other things that you can collect. But that's not the only source of data. Now the big platforms, historically all the walled gardens, are not as walled gardens as they used to be, and they're sharing more and more data. And honestly, that is a way that surprised me even. We see partners like Meta and Google and Snap and TikTok and X adding more and more data, providing more information to provide more accurate measurement. And so now you have things like advanced measurement, advanced SAN, aggregated event measurement. I think it's called ICM by Google. There's basically a million different names, but the underlying theme is that you're getting more data as a marketer. And now it feels like, okay, so is it easier? Is it harder? So I think that it's kind of both. On the one hand, there's less clarity on what exactly you should use. Some companies are still relying mostly on SK network, but while others are relying on other signals like the modeled conversions, and other companies are combining both. So there's a bit of a complexity that's created there. But I also think it's becoming better than ever before because we are starting to see this foundation, stable foundation being formed. And I feel like in this industry where there were so many rapid changes to privacy, it stifled innovations on other areas. But I feel like now it's getting better because if you have the right data and if you have the right tech stack with analytics, and obviously there's so much we could do with AI, which I'm going to get to. That's the second half of this presentation. Then we believe it's better. In fact, we believe this is probably one of the best times for marketing, performance marketing, and measurement than ever before, because I feel like, this wave of privacy has arrived. We've dealt with it. It's been 4 years. Things are kind of stable. And this is this stable, we call it solid foundation where there are things you can start counting on. There are things you can start using to doing your analysis. There are certain assumptions of data you can have, and even things that changed in the last 6 months. I know it's very rapidly evolving. That's part of why I like this industry. But the ability to get ROAS at very granular levels, return on investment, return on ad spend, the ability to look at the cohorts just like you can on iOS and Android, the ability to be able to use prediction and achieve user level data at higher resolution on iOS. That's not trivial, and now a lot of those things are coming back in one way or another. And so I think this is a really solid foundation. And for us in the measurement space, we deal with a lot of that, but the goal is just to be able to build on top of that. So what are we building? What's the future? I think the future is obvious. I think this is also part of the reason why there is some sort of stability, because originally there was so much focus on privacy, and I think everybody's focus shifted to AI, right? Everything you see has AI. Even my microwave has AI now, and it's basically everywhere. But it's not for nothing. There is truly incredible innovation you can use AI for, and the measurement space, just like any other space, is extremely ripe for innovation and disruption. So what do we see AI being leveraged on? So I want to give you 3 examples, and they are by no means the full extent of what you could do with AI, but these are examples for areas that are now achievable in marketing sophistication because there's a solid foundation. So the first thing is creatives. Over the years, every single ad platform has increased their sophistication of how they're bidding, of how to control targeting options, of taking away a lot of levers from advertisers. And I think that's honestly makes sense. Whatever algorithm works best, even advertisers in many ways maybe initially didn't like things like UAC or AAA, but over time they've kind of handed over the reins to the machine because companies like Facebook or Monaco have this data they can use to better decide bids in real time and optimize their campaigns, right? So one of the last frontiers that people are spending a lot of time on, and one of the areas that people believe is their competitive differentiator, is creative. And creative is one of those areas that Singular specifically, for over 10 years, have innovated and have invested a lot in being able to aggregate and report and visualize and give you a cross-channel view. But with AI, this goes to a whole different level. And we have a product called Creative IQ. We've been working on it for a few years. We recently publicly launched it, but it's already used by over 200 of our customers, which is amazing. Just in a matter of weeks, the amount of adoption has been massive, but we've had customers using it for many months. And the idea is to bring AI into creative analysis and creative optimization. And so you can think of it as a tool that helps you understand all your different assets across every different channel, apply tagging, and apply contextual meaning to each creative, and then combine that with all the performance information that you have about your campaigns. And if you think about what I said earlier with the solid foundation, the fact that you can now have performance at the creative level is incredibly important. So now we can use AI to understand, why is this creative working so well? Why is it working so well? Is it because of the language? Is it because of the characters? Is it because of the tone, the colors, the soundtrack? There's all this information that people used to manually tag, and now you can use AI for that. So that's one very exciting example. And you can see how this thing, sometimes we call it a feature, but it's not a feature. It's a product. It's like a company. It's an entire thing that's going to have its own roadmap for the next few years. And eventually this too will be fully automated. Eventually creatives will be generated automatically by various systems, and this will probably provide inputs to those systems. So I do think that this product is going to keep morphing extensively, but that's just one example for how AI is transforming how these products can change. The second thing I want to show you is a different angle. So when you talk about AI, the obvious thing that everybody thinks about is analysis, right? We have this bot, and we just give it some data, and it's going to give us some insights, or maybe it's going to do some image recognition, etc. But there's other examples where AI could be extremely useful. And I chose an example where it actually helps marketers in more of the technical aspects of their job. So if you have dealt with measurement, it's really complicated. You have a ton of parameters, and every ad partner likes to work in different things, and you got to manage all your signals, and you got to bring them in, and you got to send them out. And in order to get a campaign to run properly on Facebook or Moloco or AppLovin or whatever, there's a lot of setup you have to do. And so AI is also helpful in those areas. So in this example, you're seeing the standard interface of a product, like the singular product, and all of the complicated settings and parameters for attribution. But then you have this chat interface on the right of the screen that is actually aware of the context. And as you are setting up your attribution and you are configuring your tracking link and your parameters and your postbacks and your redirects and your cross-device settings and the re-engagement windows and all those things that you've heard about before, you can actually talk to this AI chatbot and you can ask it questions. But not only that, you will actually be aware of the context of what you see in your screen. And it will take you to different places in the product, and it will tell you how to fill those parameters. So this is one of those examples where the integration with AI is not done via some chat interface that you ask questions and you just get some graphs, but it's actually AI helping you in the product that you are using today as a person. And this is an area that you might have seen recently. ChatGPT released their agent. Before it was called Operator, or Perplexity built like this browser where it actually helps you do actions. So I think this is an area where you'll see SaaS products in general, especially complicated SaaS products like measurement, will help customers do things in the platform, and the AI will sort of be a guide, a helper, a bridge to help take what is otherwise a pretty complicated software and help users use that. So I think that's a very interesting sort of middle ground. And is that going to be the same 5 years from now? Probably not. Maybe it's not even, people are not going to configure anything manually, but this is definitely a segue, right? So it's sort of the evolution we see with AI. And then, is that going to work now? Maybe it will. Oh, look at that. Okay. So what I was trying to describe with words and maybe failed to do, you can just see the video. So you're asking a question, like, how do I set up a tracking link? How do I do something? And then it tells you what to do, but then it also takes you to the actual website. It takes you to the URL, right? It's embedded in the product. And then it tells you, okay, click here. It opens up the page. And then you can ask it questions like, okay, what is this parameter? What do I do here? What do I do there? And then it will just guide you on how to fill the forms in the product. So just another example, I wanted to kind of give you some ideas for what AI could be used for that are a bit different than the standard chat interface. In fact, I've heard a lot of people say that chat is not necessarily the most preferred interface. It's the first one we've seen, but it's not necessarily the main interface for everything. So yeah, this is also, for example, setting up a partner, and then you might have some questions like, I mean, you could see how many parameters this screen has. There's a million things you can configure, and honestly, sometimes it can be overwhelming, and we have to offer flexibility, but also making sure that the customers understand how to use the product. So I think AI in this instance could be doing wonders. So I think that's it. Is it kind of looping? Let's see. Yeah, almost at the end. But yeah, essentially the video walks you through how it helps you do pretty much everything in the platform. This is something I wish I had in every SaaS product. I'm excited we are building it into our product. And then lastly, we don't have any monopoly on AI. Our customers are doing phenomenal things. I mean, the algorithms are out there. Most of them are accessible. In fact, if 5 years ago, AI research and machine learning was building a lot of models and parameters and figuring out what features to include, now it's some API call to ChatGPT, etc. And obviously, I'm talking about general purpose LLM. Not every AI application is the same. I'm sure that sort of the bidding algorithms that ad networks do are very specific and require a lot of tuning, but customers can do a lot of AI in-house. And so I want to share some example here where we have, as part of our product set, we have this product for data moving called Extract. And we help customers take any data they want in its raw form and put that in their database. This is usually for customers that have a database, they have a BI team. This is an extremely powerful product. And what we've seen customers do is they started automating their user acquisition and re-engagement work. They have an engine that will automatically choose where to allocate the budget to, which creatives to generate. They will write their own text for creatives, and they will choose their own bids and their own decision-making. Basically automate the work that they are doing manually or with dashboards, trying to use AI to make that more automatic. And a lot of it is just having a strong data foundation. And so I think it's really exciting to see how there's so many different angles that you can approach AI. And this is also hopefully an inspiration to you. These are things you could do in your own company. You can generate your own creatives, you can do your own analysis, just make sure you have a strong foundation for data, but this is all doable. So I want to thank you all again for your time. This is just the beginning. I'm sure the next year's presentation about AI will be even crazier, but we are in a golden era right now, and I think it's exciting. Thank you.